China's rise in telecom was not an accident, it was a calculated mission. While the US slowed down, China poured billions into future infrastructure. The result is a global lead in 5G, fiber optics, and mobile device production. China's telecom firms now dominate international markets and policy influence. Huawei and ZTE helped build networks in over 170 countries across the globe. The US once led the charge with AT&T, Motorola, and Bell Labs innovation. But political shifts and regulatory delays left gaps in the American strategy. Meanwhile, China built state-backed champions with full government support. It's not just about who has faster internet, it's about who owns the ecosystem. From chips to satellites, China is assembling end-to-end telecom dominance. This race is not over bandwidth alone, it's about control of the future internet. Let's break down what happened, how China took the lead, and what's next. Understanding this shift means understanding where global power is heading. The telecom war is not just tech rivalry, it's a battle for digital supremacy. Let's explore how China quietly overtook the US in this crucial arena. Early investment and long-term vision. China began investing in telecom infrastructure as early as the 1990s. The focus was always on national independence and future-proofing the grid. By the 2000s, China set up major telecom giants with full state backing. 5G development was funded years before other nations even ran tests. Massive government subsidies accelerated research, rollout, and training. While the US relied on private firms, China pushed a unified strategy. Plans like Made in China 2025 prioritized telecom as a key industry. Billions were invested in rural broadband and fiber to reach every citizen. National tech parks supported engineers and startups focused on networks. Talent pipelines were built through specialized universities and partnerships. The government set performance goals with aggressive innovation timelines. Success in telecom became a matter of national pride and strategic defense. US firms faced red tape, lobbying delays, and shifting policy focus. China played the long game, planning for decades instead of quarterly profits. That long-term strategy laid the foundation for global telecom dominance. Domestic giants like Huawei and ZTE. China nurtured telecom titans like Huawei and ZTE from the ground up. These companies received state support, land, and funding from the start. Huawei reinvested over 15% of revenue into R&D annually for years. ZTE became a key player in manufacturing 5G base stations and components. Both firms expanded globally by offering cheaper, faster network builds. They undercut Western companies in cost while matching or beating speed. Through partnerships in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, they grew rapidly. These firms were backed by soft loans from Chinese banks for foreign projects. Huawei became the top global vendor of telecom equipment by 2019. ZTE helped build major mobile infrastructure in over 100 countries worldwide. The US raised security concerns, but was too late to curb global expansion. No American telecom gear maker had a global reach like Huawei's in recent years. Huawei's leadership in 5G patents also gave it licensing leverage globally. China's telecom hardware is now the backbone of networks around the world. These giants became key tools in China's soft power and tech diplomacy strategy. 5G rollout and infrastructure scale. China leads the world in 5G deployment with more than 3 million base stations. Its 5G covers over 95% of cities and 80% of rural areas already. This was possible through massive government coordination and funding. The US lagged due to spectrum auctions and corporate competition delays. China allocated spectrum directly to providers without bidding wars or red tape. Infrastructure companies laid fiber and power lines in parallel with 5G towers. Urban planning teams integrated telecom into smart city design from the start. Cities like Shenzhen and Beijing became real-world 5G testing grounds. China Mobile, China Unicom, and China Telecom built at national scale. Edge computing nodes were deployed rapidly to power ultra-low latency apps. This made China the first to run real-time 5G services like robotic surgery. The US still struggles with patchy coverage in suburban and rural regions. Even nations like Germany and the UK use Chinese 5G components today. China's lead in 5G also powers growth in IoT, smart grids, and connected cars. They did not just build faster internet, they built a smarter national grid. Global expansion through the Belt and Road. The Belt and Road Initiative included a digital corridor for telecom expansion. China funded undersea cables, satellites, and 5G in dozens of partner nations. Telecom firms bundled hardware deals with infrastructure loans to governments. African and Southeast Asian nations got low-cost fast telecom from China. Beijing positioned itself as a tech provider for the Global South and beyond. This gave China leverage and access to critical international data pathways. The US offered little in terms of competitive financing or speed of delivery. Chinese firms trained local workers and integrated with local governments. From Pakistan to Brazil, China became the go-to builder of national telecom. Soft power grew as countries became reliant on Chinese tech infrastructure. This influence extended to global standards bodies and telecom policy forums. China pushed its own tech standards to replace US-backed protocols abroad. US sanctions slowed some deals, but many countries ignored the pressure. By 2024, China had laid more global fiber than any other country on Earth. Telecom became a diplomatic tool just as much as a commercial enterprise. The US response and missteps. US telecom fell behind due to a mix of complacency and fragmented policy. The lack of national strategy made rollout uneven and progress slow. AT&T and Verizon focused more on media acquisitions than 5G leadership. American telecom gear makers could not match Huawei's scale or pricing. Spectrum auctions delayed deployment while other countries moved forward. Security concerns were raised late after Huawei was already entrenched abroad. Bans and export restrictions came only after global networks were built. US firms relied heavily on foreign components, weakening supply chains. Investment in rural broadband was inconsistent and politically charged. Startups in telecom faced high capital needs and limited government support. The US innovated early but failed to sustain momentum through coordination. Now efforts like the Xi Peace Act aim to rebuild domestic telecom infrastructure. Allies are being encouraged to build non-Chinese networks with US support. The US still leads in some AI and software, but hardware dominance slipped. It is a game of catch-up, and China has the early lead in every key area. What this means for the future. Who leads in telecom controls the gateways of the digital world going forward. 5G, 6G, and fiber networks will power finance, defense, and communications. China's early lead gives it influence over data flows, standards, and access. Tech dominance brings geopolitical power in the modern world order. Future wars and diplomacy may hinge on who controls digital infrastructure. The next decade will be shaped by telecom power, just like oil shaped the last. Global alliances are forming around tech and telecom interests and security. The US must innovate, invest, and rebuild if it hopes to regain the lead. New technologies like quantum networking and 6G are already in development. China plans to lead there too, unless others step up fast with funding and scale. The fight for telecom dominance is not just business, it is a global power shift. This competition will determine how secure, open, and fair the internet remains. Whichever nation controls the pipes, controls the future of digital life. Global tech governance may soon reflect the balance of telecom power. Understanding this now is crucial for every country, company, and citizen. China's rise in telecom reshaped global power dynamics in less than 20 years. The US still has time to respond, but the window is shrinking fast. This is more than just internet speed. It is about control of future systems. Thanks for watching this deep dive into the telecom shift between superpowers. If you found this eye-opening, hit the like button and share with a friend. Drop a comment with your thoughts on who will lead in 6G and beyond. Subscribe for more tech breakdowns and global trend analysis every week. We will keep covering the untold stories behind the devices we all rely on. The race is on, and what happens next will shape the digital world for decades. See you in the next one, where we break down tech, power, and the future.